ह्यूमन बीइंग के पास वही जो स्पिरिचुअल नेचर के वजह से ही वो खुद को बाकी जानवरों से अलग खुद की पहचान बना सकता है, ठीक है। एंड आइडियाज एंड पर्पज आर द रियलिटीज ऑफ एग्जिस्टेंस. सो हियर व्हाट इज द रियलिटी? हियर आइडियाज एंड पर्पजेस आर द रियलिटीज ऑफ एग्जिस्टेंस. ओनली द आइडिया एग्जिस्ट इन दिस world, and the personality, the union of ideas and purposes, is the ultimate reality. Man is free agent, free to choose of his ends and means to realize them. What is the aims of education according to idealism? Aims of education are the self realization. First aim of education is self realization. खुद को realize करना, ये है हमारा आइडियलिज्म का एम, कि द एम इज टू एनेबल ईच चाइल्ड टू रियलाइज सोल, रिकॉग्नाइज हिज रियल फॉर्म एंड प्रोसीड टुवर्ड सेल्फ नॉलेज. सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन मींस फुल नॉलेज ऑफ द सेल्फ और द सोल, मतलब खुद की पहचान करना, खुद को जानना, खुद की सोल को रियलाइज करना, ठीक है. बियॉन्ड सोल देयर इज सुप्रीम सोल, मतलब आत्मा से परे एक सुप्रीम सोल है. व्हाट इज दैट सुप्रीम सोल? सुप्रीम सोल इज आवर गॉड. ह्यूमन सोल इज द पार्ट ऑफ दैट सोल, मतलब जितने भी सोल है यहाँ पे सारा का हर सोल का एक सुप्रीम सोल है, वन सुप्रीम सोल है. बियॉन्ड द सोल देयर इज सुप्रीम सोल, और सुप्रीम सोल है गॉड, एंड द ह्यूमन सोल इज द पार्ट ऑफ दैट गॉड. ओके. मैन अचीव परफेक्शन व्हेन ही रियलाइजेस सेल्फ, मतलब जो मैन तभी एक परफेक्ट ह्यूमन बीइंग बन सकता है जबकि वो खुद को रियलाइज कर सकता है. खुद के रियलाइज करने के बाद ही वो खुद परफेक्ट बन सकता है, परफेक्शन तक वो अचीव कर सकता है. मैन achieves perfection when he realizes self. So that idealist philosophers have advocated that liberation or nirvana or mukti is the ultimate aim of life. So यहाँ पे ultimate aim of life क्या है? मुक्ति पाना, liberation, मोक्ष की प्राप्ति, निर्वाणा. So here this is the self realization. Next is spiritual development. This is the second aim of द आइडियलिज्म, कि ह्यूमन बीइंग को सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन जैसे करना चाहिए, सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन के साथ साथ स्पिरिचुअल डेवलपमेंट भी खुद के अंदर लाना चाहिए. व्हाट इज दैट स्पिरिचुअल डेवलपमेंट? द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ द स्पिरिचुअल वैल्यूज. व्हाट आर द स्पिरिचुअल वैल्यूज हियर? द स्पिरिचुअल वैल्यूज आर ट्रूथ, ब्यूटी एंड गुडनेस इन लाइफ. वन हैज टू एंजॉय इंटेलेक्चुअल, एस्थेटिक एंड मोरल वैल्यूज थ्रू स्पिरिचुअल डेवलपमेंट ऑफ माइंड, ठीक है. ट्रूथ मीन्स इंटेलेक्चुअल डेवलपमेंट, ब्यूटी, एस्थेटिक डेवलपमेंट, गुडनेस, मोरल वैल्यूज. ओके. These have to develop in the human being. That is the aim of idealism, spiritual development. Next is cultivation of moral values. Cultivation of moral values in the human environment or human being. In the human being, moral values enables to achieve the perfection in life. moral values होगा तभी वो अपने लाइफ को परफेक्ट बना सकता है, एक सेल्फ डिसिप्लिन बन सकता है, ठीक है. वन हैज टू एक्सप्रेस हिज मोरल वैल्यूज थ्रू ऑल एक्टिविटीज इन लाइफ. जो कि मोरल वैल्यूज को अपने अंदर में कल्टीवेट करने के बाद कल्टीवेट करना चाहिए, और उसी मोरल वैल्यूज को ही अपने थ्रू आउट द लाइफ को वो एक्सप्रेस करना चाहिए. इंटेलेक्चुअल वैल्यूज सॉल्व ऑल ह्यूमन प्रॉब्लम्स व्हाट ही फेसेस इन लाइफ टाइम. सो दैट आइडियलिज्म कल्टिवेट्स मोरल वैल्यूज इन ऑर्डर टू मेक द लाइफ परफेक्ट नोबल वन. तो इन लाइफ में खुद को परफेक्ट बनाने के लिए, सेल्फ डिसिप्लिन बनाने के लिए खुद के अंदर कल्टीवेट मोरल वैल्यूज कल्टीवेट करना चाहिए. Okay, and then next is the conservation, promotion and transmission of culture. This is also the one aim of idealism, ki conservation, promotion and transmission of culture. According to idealism, aim of education should be related to preserve, promote and transmit culture from time to time, person to person and place to place. मतलब different cultures are there for different people. From it differs from person to person and differs from place to place. Okay. And that's why according to the idealism, that is aim of the education is to conserve this culture, promote this culture and transmit this culture from person to person, from place to place, so that this will be preserved. The culture will be preserved. Moral, intellectual and aesthetic activities of man help in preserving these values. How these values will be preserved, how the culture will be preserved, that will preserve by means of moral, intellectual and aesthetic activities of man. Okay, and this will help in preserving, promoting and transmitting culture from generation to generation. The next is cultural heritage of mankind should be preserved. Okay, and in addition to this, spiritual and moral values not only contribute the human society by promoting culture but also transmit the same to the oncoming generation. Next aim of idealism is development of physical health. So it has been given importance to the development of physical health. If the health will be sounder, then there will be the development of sound mind. There will be development of full development of the mental development, intellectual development, moral development and cultural development. So idealist philosopher also advocates that education should be religious, moral, intellectual, and aesthetic and physical. So emphasis should be given on physical health. So sound health through spiritual values. Education should aim at developing child into complete man with full mental, intellectual, moral and cultural uplift. मतलब यहाँ पे education का aim है कि एक बच्चे को उसका full development होना चाहिए. By means of full development मतलब क्या? Full development मतलब by means of mental development, intellectual development, moral development and cultural uplift. So this is possible only if the health is sound. Okay, if the health is sound, then the mind will be sound. If the mind will be sound, all other development can takes place properly. Okay, so sound health provides sound mind where creative values are produced for the well-being of the human society. So next aim of idealism is intellectual development. Okay, and here the intellectual development, it is the aim by developing his creative power. The intellectual development takes place by the development of creative power and control and adjust with his environment. This helps in the intellectual development. Intellectual development is essential. Why the intellectual development is essential? The intellectual development is essential to undertake appropriate job and occupations available in the society. Next is simple living and high thinking. There must be simple living and high thinking. The fashionable branded clothes, at the rich living does not mean anything. It means nothing in the end. Okay, so it has given importance to the simple living and high thinking. The thinking must be high, the living must be simple. Next is development of unity in diversity. The next aim of idealism is the development of unity in diversity. It is the education that should mold the people in such a way that they would be willing to sacrifice their individual interest for social interest. मतलब यहाँ पे एक स्टूडेंट को या तो हम बोल सकते एक ह्यूमन बींग को उसके अंदर वो सारे गुण को कल्टीवेट करना चाहिए ताकि वो उसके अंदर डेवलपमेंट ऑफ यूनिटी बन सके. ठीक है, यूनिटी के लिए डेवलपमेंट बन सके, डेवलपमेंट ऑफ यूनिटी इन डाइवर्सिटी. okay, and so that he should be willing to sacrifice their individual interest for social interest. अगर सोशल इंटरेस्ट के लिए खुद की इंटरेस्ट को सेक्रीफाइस करना पड़े तो भी वो करना चाहिए फॉर द सेक ऑफ यूनिटी इन डाइवर्सिटी. एंड एम इज टू फोस्टर नेशनल इंटीग्रेशन एंड इंटरनेशनल अंडरस्टैंडिंग. Next aim of idealism is the cultivation of truth, beauty, and goodness. Sorry. Aim is to cultivate spiritual values to achieve self-realization. Here, these three values determine three types of human activities, that is intellectual activities, aesthetic, and moral. So, cultivation of truth, beauty, and goodness creates intellectual development, aesthetic development, and moral development. Next is curriculum. How the curriculum should be according to the idealism. The idealism emphasis on humanistic subjects. What are that? Truth, good, beauty, and goodness. That it emphasizes on truth, beauty, and goodness, the spiritual values. So, what will be the subject according to these spiritual values? Truth values means intellectual subjects like literature, history, geography, mathematics, and science. Goodness means moral, religion, and ethics. Beauty, aesthetic subjects comes like activities, art, and poetry. Here see, in the curriculum, the education, how it can be, it is divided into physical activities and spiritual activities. In physical activities, it is the care of the body. You should take the care of the body, and the skill exercise. These two comes under the physical activities. And the spiritual activities, intellectual, moral, aesthetic, and religious. Okay, in intellectual development, literature, language, history, geography, science, and mathematics comes in the intellectual development. And for the moral development, ethics and aesthetics, fine arts, religious and metaphysics. So this emphasis on humanistic subjects, truth, intellectual subjects, literature, history, geography, mathematics, and science. Goodness is moral, religion and ethics. Beauty is aesthetic subjects or activities, art and poetry. Next is discipline. It emphasizes on self-discipline. It gives freedom to the children, but qualified freedom, that is only for activities. And the freedom is guided, regulated, and restrained freedom. Next is method of teaching. In the idealism, what are the methods of teaching? Methods of teaching are narration, explanation, questioning, discussion, play way, observation, and practice and repetition. What is the role of a teacher? According to the idealism, the role of a teacher is supreme. The teacher is supreme and important place of teacher. teacher is the role model for the students. This is a teacher centered curriculum, and teacher is a behaves like a teacher is like friend, philosopher, and guide and role model for the student. The teacher as a gardener, and he knows how to take care of the child as planned, encourages and shows the right path to work on it. Having deep knowledge of his subject, teachers should aim at inculcating in the people a desire to work hard. Next is people, how the people should be. The people or the students should be given importance to the individuality of the child. There must be the development of the individuality. It tries to stimulate his creative potentialities, develop the eternal values in the child. Next is school. It is the only place for regular and effective education. School is the only place where the regular and effective education takes place. It is an ideal and joyful activities for the children. So there must be school where the students should learn. Students come in contact with ideal teacher and get the education of high ideals. School is the only place where the students comes in contact with the ideal teacher, for that they can become a good students, ideal students, or we can say they can develop the different moral values and intellectual values, spiritual values. Different types of development can take place in school only. Next is, what are the limitations of idealism? Okay, here too much importance has been given on the mind and spirituality, overemphasis on bookish knowledge. Okay, and there is no emphasis on the practical knowledge. There is no emphasis on the science, or we can say modern concepts like ICT does not find its place in idealist system of education. This is more teacher centric. Okay, and the less importance to child. Here only the teacher, students follow the teacher. There is no creativity in the child, and it ignores the practical realities. It stresses imitations of models which hinders their creativity or critical thinking or development. And this is less importance to child, moreover more teacher centric. So next is last one is the conclusion part. Here in conclusion is, it is universal in education, moral education, integrated curriculum, emphasis on self-realization and self-discipline. Teachers are the role model here, and ideals are supreme. So this is all about our idealism. I hope all of you have understood properly what idealism talks about. So I hope all of you have understood. Thank you all, and please don't forget to like it, share it, subscribe it, and give comments. Thank you all.